Violators, thank you for your love and support. I appreciate you all. With unity, we can conquer everything. And that is what we are seeing today happening in Lomé. Togo, for Nyasugbe Yadama has made history with the leaders in Mali, Niger, and Burkina Faso for giving them access to use the port in Lomé. ECOWAS also appeared there. And ECOWAS president said ECOWAS is ready to reset things with the leaders in Mali, Niger, and Burkina Faso. According to the president, we are all one people. And for that matter, we need to unite together to make sure we do things that will help us. That we have to come together, united. And according to him, we are one people in history, with culture, with everything. So why do we need to allow other things to separate us? So for that matter, whatever the situation might be between Mali, Niger, and Burkina Faso and ECOWAS, we need to reset things. And we don't have to allow other people, outsiders, to have their way so that they can use us against ourselves. That we need to come together so we can fight against the outside forces that would want to come into the continent to divide us.
We are one people, and one people must move forward together. Distinguished ministers of foreign affairs, representing the nations of Mali, Burkina Faso, and the Republic of Niger. Your Excellencies, the Special Representative of the Secretary General of the United Nations. For West Africa and the Sahel, Your Excellencies, the High Representative of the President of the African Union Commission for the Sahel region, distinguished special envoys, ambassadors, representatives of regional and international organizations, ladies and gentlemen, on behalf of ECOWAS, I express my sincere gratitude to the government and people of the Togolese Republic for convening this important meeting, as well as for their exceptional spirit of hospitality. Your Distinguished Excellency, this meeting is not merely a formal gathering of international diplomats and esteemed ministers. It is truly a family meeting. A family that has experienced deep-seated disagreements and long periods of cold estrangement, but a family that has never deep down ceased to belong to one another in spirit. Regardless of the specific institutional arrangements that may currently divide our people, the profound bonds of our geography, our culture, our history, our kinship, and our shared destiny are far too strong to ever be severed or undone by any single human action or political decision. We are one people. We have always been one united people, and it is as such a single entity that we must bravely face the many difficult challenges lying ahead of us. Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen, I would like to express my deepest and most sincere gratitude to the Togolese Republic for consistently ensuring that the sacred flame of dialogue is never allowed to be extinguished or forgotten. The newly developed strategic framework of Togo that has formally been introduced and presented to the Assembly is far more than just a simple document for dialogue or a standardized national policy document. It represents a profound act of regional solidarity and cooperation. It was a profound act of statesmanship and a courageous act of faith in the enduring power of our shared humanity to eventually overcome all of our deep-seated differences. The ECOWAS Commission wholeheartedly welcomes this vital initiative with open arms, expressing our deep and sincere gratitude for the remarkable courage and the profound wisdom that it truly embodies for us all. Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen, allow me also to take a moment to highlight what the Economic Community of West African States has accomplished and continues to accomplish. To lay the institutional foundations for re-engagement with the AIS countries. Firstly, in May 2025, in my capacity as President of the ECOWAS Commission, I met with the 3 foreign ministers of the AIS states in Bamako, and we agreed to place the interests of our people above all else, and to ensure that the achievements of regional integration are preserved for the people of West Africa. With this specific mindset, we have collectively made the firm decision to maintain the existing state of affairs, as they pertain specifically to the areas of international trade, freedom of movement, and the right of establishment. Furthermore, ECOWAS expressed its warm welcome and full support for the significant and strategic decision of the 3 countries to remain active members of the ECOWAS Bank for Investment and Development, also known as EBID, which is currently headquartered right here in Lomé, as well as their continued participation in the Guiaba Regional Group. More recently, the Conference of Heads of State and Government made a clear and deliberate decision to formally establish and implement a highly structured framework for comprehensive diplomatic dialogue with the Alliance of Sahel States, which will be firmly anchored and centered upon the official appointment of a chief negotiator who possesses a clearly defined and authoritative mandate for these critical negotiations. That is to say, we require a clear and completely unambiguous mandate, which means conducting our affairs through a process of patient, deeply respectful diplomacy. This approach must be firmly based on core principles and strategic engagement, fully supported by the Alliance of Sahel States, and carried out entirely without any hidden agendas or ulterior motives whatsoever. This is a comprehensive and ongoing process aimed at further reinforcing and strengthening what brings us all together: the free movement of our peoples, which is a deeply rooted and ancestral doctrine, of the entire geographical region and its diverse local inhabitants, the significant expansion and growth of economic opportunities, and the comprehensive restoration and return of peace and security within our shared space. Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen, I would be failing in my duty if I addressed this gathering without speaking frankly about the broader context in which all of this is taking place. The world is changing rapidly and profoundly in ways that have serious implications for our local region. The architecture of multilateralism on which we have relied for decades is under severe stress. The rules-based international order is being challenged. The scramble for resources has taken on new urgency. Climate shocks are compounding food insecurity, and demographic pressures are mounting. And in our region, the human suffering caused by violent extremism continues to demand not only military responses, but also political solutions that are rooted in good governance and economic inclusion. At this moment, the question before us is not simply whether our community will survive this period. The question is whether North Africa, as a coherent region with a collective voice, can shape its own future, or whether, fragmented and divided, it will be shaped by others. The 15 countries of this region together represent more than 400 million people, the second most dynamic regional economy on the continent, and a demographic youth dividend that the world cannot ignore. But only if we act together can we turn this potential into power. So I call upon you. Standing here today upon this global platform, we gather for a renewed and solemn commitment to the inherent dignity, the lasting security, the shared prosperity, and the fundamental freedom of every single man, every individual woman, and every precious child living throughout this entire region. This call requires candor. ECOWAS must also look within itself. We must acknowledge that our institutions have not always fulfilled the promises made to the people. We must be ready to reform, to adopt, to adapt, to listen more, and to serve better. The legitimacy of our regional project does not rest on the elegance of our founding documents, but on the tangible difference. Consider the profound impact that it brings to the daily lives of our hardworking people, to the humble market woman who can finally cross a border without any fear of harassment, to the ambitious young professional who can now build a successful career across our entire region, to the dedicated farmer who can access a vast regional market without being crushed by unfair and prohibitive tariffs, and to the hopeful mother who no longer fears that her child will be recruited by a violent extremist simply for a lack of other viable prospects. Your distinguished excellencies, esteemed dignitaries, and honored guests gathered here today. This day stands as a truly historic occasion, not simply because of the formal ceremonies that surround it, but because of the profound truth of what it represents, a firm refusal to ever resign ourselves to the forces of division. ECOWAS is not simply an economic organization, it is a community of shared destiny. And a shared destiny means that the suffering of the people of the Sahel is not just their suffering, it is ours as well. Their insecurity is our insecurity. Their development is our development. Their future is our very own future. We are one people, and one people must move forward together. Thank you.
But we ask, why was ECOWAS so quick to attack Niger? Where is the same ECOWAS and African Union, where EU sat in their EU parliament and passed a resolution to make sure that they bring back Mohamed Bazoum? You see how these our leaders are always good at speech. No wonder, after all, you can't be under the system called democracy, and you wouldn't be somebody who would talk and do less. So we understand, yes, we are one people, and that is a fact. Other people came into the continent to divide us, and we, the people who are leading the people, are the same people that they are using to draw our people back. Why must we rise up against the leaders in Mali, Niger, and Burkina Faso? Simple because they have decided that the oppressors' way of leadership isn't something that is benefiting us. So we have also decided to do things this way, and we have a problem. And we are allowing ourselves for the oppressor to use us against ourselves. Like the Malians said, we don't have to allow other people to be using the ECOWAS countries against the leaders in Mali, Niger, and Burkina Faso. We are seeing what is happening between the ECOWAS countries and the same people that are oppressing us, and they are after the leaders in Mali, Niger, and Burkina Faso. So if we are talking about unity, like the minister of Mali said, why do we have to continue to be dining with the people who are fighting against the leaders in Mali, Niger, and Burkina Faso? Look at the way African leaders are running into France, allowing themselves to be signing security pacts with the same people, EU, that sat down and decided that Africans still do not have the right to decide who leads them. So for that matter, they need to come into the continent to choose a leader for us. Where are you, ECOWAS? Why can't you sit down and let the leaders in Africa or in the ECOWAS sub-region understand that we cannot continue to be moving with the people that our brothers and sisters in Mali, Niger, and Burkina Faso are always crying that they are the ones that are causing us pain? What we are seeing, the insurgencies in Mali, Niger, and Burkina Faso, like the Malian said, these things, we had them when they came into Libya at the time of Gaddafi. And now these things spread. And you sit down to make it look as if Mali, Niger, and Burkina Faso are suffering from all these insurgencies simply because they are having military leaders. Because when you listen to the things that sometimes our leaders say, it means that because they are led by military leaders, that's why we're having all these insurgencies. Look at Nigeria. Nigeria is a democratic country, but look at how Boko Haram has taken over. And we know per what the congressmen said that they are the ones that are sponsoring these people. So why not stop seeing ourselves as different people just because we have decided in Mali, Niger, and Burkina Faso that we are no longer going to be using the oppressor's rule, but we want to change something else? Why can't Africans decide the kind of leadership that we think is best for us? And we must continue to be following what the oppressor left for us. And when these people get up, they tell us that the African is not capable of managing his own affairs. And we still sit here and we have a problem with it. If we can still not decide what we think is right for us, why should other people sit there and think that we are capable of managing our own affairs? And these people will always meddle in our affairs. Like we are saying, we should not allow people to meddle in the internal affairs of us. Yet people are doing that every blessed day, thinking that we are still not up to their level. So they have to always decide what they think is best for us, treating us as if we are children. And we sit here and all we do is giving speeches without changing the approaches of how we do things. Look at Russia. Look at China. These nations are not democratic nations. Look at where China was 40 years ago and look at China today. And Africa was in the same shoe with the same people. And these people are all ahead of us. Japan and Africa is still sitting here holding on to the oppressor's rule and deciding our fate by what people say. Like the foreign minister of Russia said, Sergei Lavrov, you have to stop hiding behind daddy's back and start taking your own responsibility. United we stand, divided we fall, and united we keep standing forever and ever. The greatest enemy of the African is mental slavery. So let's decolonize ourselves from mental slavery. Let's keep sharing to educate our brothers and sisters. Together we'll make Africa great for ourselves and the next generations that are going to come. So that's the latest around the world. In Africa, West Africa, and in ECOWAS.